been that long, but in that short time we've made an inordinate amount of progress, I think, in our regeneration agendas. And I think it is a testament to the strength of the Council at a time when we have faced very difficult decisions and very severe pressures on our budgets. We continue to have such an innovative, nationally recognised authority for regeneration. And I think with the funding environment so unsure, it is a vital part of what we do here to work to maximise our income going forward and try and bring new money to the Council. I'll start the traditional run through the growth hubs this year with Tilbury. I know Councillor Wall brought it up last year, and I think there are exciting developments in there, and we talk about them sometimes less than we do about those big marquee projects in Purfleet. We know that Tilbury is facing significant challenges of late, not least in healthcare provision. We've now appointed a master planning team to place the Civic Square at the heart of the community with quality services and a public realm that local people can be proud of. And there's consultation that's taking place starting this weekend on the plans for that. And this sort of proposal will sit alongside other proposals worked up in partnership with the CCG and NHS England for a flagship primary care centre in the town. Regeneration in Tilbury is something that is very close to my heart, and I've long felt that the Civic Square is an underused space at the heart of Tilbury, and I look forward to seeing this work progress. The Purfleet Regeneration Scheme continues to be a highlight, not just in Thurrock, but is recognised nationwide. As I reported about Council and Cabinet recently, PCRL have identified and signed up a funding partner, London and Quadrant, who will bring not only capital but expertise in placemaking to the project. And I think this project has been bubbling on for a number of years. I think we will see real movement this year in terms of planning. Elsewhere in Purfleet, as a council, we've supported the development of one of the 7 national colleges at High House Production Park, as I detailed a few months ago. I think it made it in today to the Chancellor's autumn statement, although he didn't say it was authority, he said it was in Essex, I recall. This promises to strengthen the emerging culture and media hub we have in the west of the borough, and we're working with other partners in the local enterprise partnership to draw in more funds to support this. Lakeside continues to be absolutely vital for Thurrock's economic future, employs 1,000 people and brings in thousands more to shop in the borough. The Council is working with him to facilitate their plans for an improved retail and leisure offer on site. Also particularly of interest to the Council is the improvement in public transport connections around the basin, and this month saw the start of the Lakeside Link bus service to transport shoppers around the shopping centre and retail park. And we're also working on a project to bring the bus station closer to the footbridge to Trafford 100 train station to encourage people to make more onward journeys by public transport as well. We've talked an awful lot about Grays in here, and I won't talk any more about the opening of South Essex College than I have done previously, but suffice to say that the increased footfall in the town centre has been pivotal in attracting major businesses like Wetherspoons to the town, with the accompanying benefits that has for regeneration. And we hope that the opening of the new Magistrates Court Business Centre in the coming weeks will further attract new commercial enterprises to Grays. And I think what is happening in Grays is a great example of the virtuous circle that regeneration can bring. By intervening in a measured and strategic way, we've been able to improve the use of the area, attract new business and development, and hopefully this will itself lead to further development. Though we have been successful thus far in Grays, the work doesn't just stop, and we'll continue to try and help shape the High Street and town centre in a place that people can be proud of. In the east of the borough, we'll continue to work with Thames Enterprise Park in supporting the sale of the site, and with London Gateway in bringing in new business to the logistics park. It's fair to say that growth has been slower at the logistics park than any of us would have liked, but the recent announcement of UBS as a tenant is a positive sign. The Council will be working with DP World and local schools to make sure that Thurrock residents have the skills needed to get the jobs that are created. More generally, we're embarking on a refresh of our economic development strategy, but it is worth noting that Thurrock is bucking the trend of the national economic picture with strong jobs growth compared to the country at large, and I believe the Planning Transport Regeneration Committee looked at the economic development strategy recently and described it as very good news. So I'm pleased that it enjoys its cross-party support. There are issues going forward, particularly from my perspective in diversifying the types of job opportunities we have here in Thurrock. But if you look at the range of regeneration activities that we're taking forward, I think that we are making strong headway in this one. And a few quick words on strategic planning, because I'm probably running out of time. The local plan continues to dominate the planning environment and will in part depend on decisions that are taken elsewhere, notably the Lower Thames Crossing, which we'll discuss later tonight. We've already discussed the statement of community involvement this evening. We have issued a call for sites, and we're assessing some 600 in the coming months. And I'll be bringing a schedule for the further development of the local plan to December's Cabinet, and we'll let you know further about opportunities to engage in the process. With that, Madam Deputy Mayor, I think I've used my time, and I'll take it.
But also, actually, on the up, I'm sure the Chancellor will regret heavily saying Essex and not Thurrock, and I'm sure he will apologise in person at some point. However, obviously Thurrock's not the only place undergoing regeneration at the moment. Indeed, all of our boroughs are undergoing some form of regeneration, either council, national infrastructure, or indeed business projects. Can you outline what you're doing to ensure that Thurrock businesses and residents take full advantage of this, and able to feed into, for instance, jobs into the supply chain or businesses that supply into the supply chain, therefore creating more jobs in Thurrock as well as outside of Thurrock.
The pooling of business rates within the local area, which includes neighbouring local authorities, which I think is an important part in bringing together different boroughs that neighbour each other to try and provide a coherent economic offer that benefits us all communally. I think more specifically, it's a big priority of mine that we do make sure that people who live here, who are in our schools now, benefit from the economic opportunities that are being developed. So we're working currently with NFT, who are opening a new site at Tilbury Docks, which is predicted to bring about 700 jobs. We're working very closely with them on how we can help schools and other local organisations provide the skills that people need to get those jobs. And I think it is about that dialogue with people who are invested into the borough, about providing the skills that they need, about making sure that people are made aware of the opportunities. I think I sort of cut it from my report, but I was going to talk a little bit about the Travis Perkins site on the Asda roundabout in Tilbury, where there were problems at the outset, I think, with how they're advertising within the borough for new employees there. We got onto them, and now we're at a stage where a quarter of the people who work there are based in Tilbury, and another 40% are based in the rest of the borough, which more work to be done. I'd like it to be as close to 100% as possible, so we won't stop, but I think that is a strong sense that people are benefiting here from the jobs that we are creating.
You mentioned a great deal about job and infrastructure growth, which is very robust. The development of aspects of the nighttime economy is less robust. It sometimes feels that we've trained one muscle very adequately and another slightly less. Because I know there's quite compelling data to show we are losing money to boroughs like Southend, where people either leaving Thurrock to go to Southend, or people in fact passing through Thurrock to get to Southend. Is this an area that perhaps we can explore? I do recall there was some talk a couple of years ago about relaxing our licensing stance in regards to a super casino, anecdotally. Just wondering if you had any thoughts in those regards.
Now, I think there are concomitant problems with the super casino as well. I take the point on the nighttime economy. I think it's a point more widely about our economic regeneration strategy, which is that, fundamentally we're a borough with 2 international ports, where half an hour's drive from an international airport. We're on the M25. We are going to perform quite strongly in logistics and retail. There's no way that we can get around that. I think we do need to diversify, as I said, and I expect the economic development strategy to really highlight that, particularly in areas of the nighttime economy. There are 2 things that I think are on the books at the moment which may help strengthen that. The one is the long talked about leisure offer at Lakeside, which hopefully we should see in the near future. The second is Wetherspoons and Grays Town Centre, which I understand has caused a fair amount of controversy, but I think it's a great opportunity to regenerate a building that's been out of use for a very long time and has caused an enormous amount of unhappiness for people living in Grays and seeing it out of use. And I think the way in which we build this nighttime economy is not necessarily going out there and saying, let's build a super casino. The way that we build that is by putting the infrastructure and the development in place, as we've seen in Grays, to have young people in the town centre, to have people working there in office jobs at the end of the high street who are using the town centre on a frequent basis, and the business will follow. We've seen expressions from major national chains coming back into Grays High Street, which, given the universal drive for people to move to out-of-town centres and to go to Lakeside, to see businesses coming back in a big way to Grays, I think is a positive sign. But I do take the point that I think it is what was the phrase you use, an underdeveloped muscle that we should work on.
I thank the portfolio holder for his report, and yes, I do agree with a lot of the comments and some of the comments he made earlier on. At a recent meeting, Tilbury Port Management stated that they are struggling to fill their job vacancies. Given that they have over 110 different job categories, could the portfolio holder identify the areas that cannot presently be fulfilled by residents from Thurrock, and the plan to resolve this maybe?
It's a very good question. I can't identify the specific areas that aren't being filled at the moment. I would say that if we can identify specific areas that aren't being filled, we should be doing our utmost to work with local schools, with local education providers, with local training companies, to make sure that we are giving them skills. We are blessed in many ways by having a lot of major employers on our doorstep, like Port of Tilbury. And if we're not providing the skilled people that they need for their jobs, there's some disconnect somewhere, and I will look into it, and perhaps we can discuss it again at a future PTR, and I'll come and talk about it there.
Just referring back to last meeting, I don't think
appropriate to deliver in the Highways and Transportation Department, but I will get an answer and send it to you directly.
Councillor it's good to see major schemes now being delivered in Thurrock. Can you just tell me how Regeneration is working with the communities for the sporting fraternity that is out there? We've got residents who are out there wanting things to happen, i.e. Blackshots Field for a hub, which is not, doesn't seem to be listening to.
I think I take the point entirely that in the context of some of the large schemes that we do have, some of these areas that aren't so much of national significance or the big areas sometimes do drop off the agenda. I think there is, and there will be talk in the economic development strategy about how we can strengthen the sporting structure, and I think as well in consultation with Barbara in the sort of health side, there is a lot of work, more work that we can do in strengthening the sports offer. So I will come back to you on that, because I do think it is something that perhaps we haven't looked at as much as we could do. I mean, on the question of engagement more generally, I think, particularly on the Purfleet development, what we've seen in the department is very strong engagement at a very early stage with local residents, and I would like to see that kind of engagement replicated in other areas. And if we're not doing it in sport, then we should be doing it, and I'll discuss it there.
Councillor Gupta.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. Just to ask about, I believe that the Grace Town Centre is being regenerated. I just to ask the portfolio holder that how far this underpass that you talked about on page 163 on the railway line it has been going on for a long time. And what's the latest on that? And when will it be implemented?
Thank you, Councillor Gupta. I mean, I think we've talked about this for a very long time, and it's been a long time in the coming. We've worked with Network Rail over the last 12 months, and we've identified clearly with everybody involved that an underpass is the preferred solution. What's happened is that when we were expecting it to go to the design phase with with Network Rail, as you know, they've come under some pretty severe funding restrictions lately. So not only us as a local authority, but other local authorities, they're retreating back from this design work. So we're looking at ways alternatively that we can find the detailed design, that we can fund the detailed design work, and also working on ways that we can address, that we can find the capital monies to cover the rest of the project. Now, that's going to be a big priority for us in upcoming funding bid rounds for the CELAC and for other funding streams. So, I mean, that's a long-winded answer of saying, I don't know when it's coming. We're still prioritising it, and it will be a massive priority for us in the coming funding bids. But it has been difficult in terms of Network Rail's ability to produce those plans and move them on further. I mean, it remains to be seen what happens today. We've seen in the autumn statement a fairly substantial cut to the Department of Transport revenue budget, while the capital budget is increasing. Whether that affects the delivery of scheme, I'm yet to sort of work out. But I mean, I suspect it's not going to be good, because this is the kind of revenue funding that they'll need to do the design work. But I will keep members updated on that, because I think it is one of those projects that is vitally important for tying the two halves of Grace together, and I would like to see it put forward as soon as speed as possible.
I'd only ever stand up if I was actually going to talk about Tilbury, naively. But today we can talk about Tilbury because of the regeneration that's happening in Tilbury and the plans to do some great work. I've always said, why not Tilbury? Why not Tilbury? Why is it happening in Grace? It's happening in Purfleet, and we was getting left behind. And we did have a regeneration in Tilbury in 1997. It wasn't a very good regeneration, but for the first time, it feels like something's actually going to happen in our town. I was part of the consultation with the consultants. It was a really lively evening, and I've now met with those consultants before it goes back out for decisions and to talk to the community about what we're looking at. And I have to say, they have taken on board what has been suggested. And I think that it's quite exciting to see that the town and the civic centre, which is the square, is going to change. And we are going to have a new health hub. We are going to have somewhere for people to be fit. We have got a community hub there. We're going to have new shops. We're going to have new things in Tilbury that we so deserve to have there. So I'd like to say thank you so much for the work that's been done in Tilbury and taking on board the questions that I asked last year, the 70% of people being employed at Travis Perkins is quite an achievement for us to be able to say that Tilbury people are being employed, and if they're not Tilbury, at least another 45% of them are Thurrock. You know, so we have to keep our foot on the pedal to make sure we're training everybody so that we can take those jobs, so that outsiders are not looked at and that we're providing our own workforce. So thank you very much. I don't think that was a question, it was just a great big about time. Well done.
So it can be ruled in order. I heard the question, isn't it good that we're doing stuff in Tilbury, and I think it is well overdue that we are making developments, and I take basically anyone who comes to Thurrock from outside to the Civic Square in Tilbury to show them, you know, I think it's a potentially great place of civic architecture that isn't really replicated anywhere else that I know of. So it is a very exciting time. I don't particularly have any more to say than I did earlier. I think one of the things I would say is that one of the reasons we've been able to do so well in this time of very severe financial challenges, because we do have an excellent set of officers, both on the regeneration side, on the planning and transport side. So I'd like to thank Steve and Matthew and the regeneration team, as well as David and Andy and their planning and team, development management team. I think I've lost count now of the amount of awards that the planning team have been nominated for in the last couple of years, but they've all been richly deserved. So I move the report for note.